Welcome to the Stop Ruining My Childhood podcast.
A sometimes nostalgic, sometimes cynical look back at pop culture.
Join us as we revisit movies, cartoons, and live-action TV of the 80s and 90s.
And then we compare them to the sequels, remakes, reboots, and revivals they inspired.
And we ask the question,
does this hold up?
Did Hollywood improve things?
Or did they just ruin my childhood?
All over again. My name's Megan.
And I'm Steve.
And today we are taking a look at the new 2026 Masters of the Universe.
And now, just as a reminder, this is a full spoiler show, so if you haven't seen it yet, pause the podcast, go to the theater, watch it, and then come back and listen.
By the time we put this out, it'll probably be on streaming. If you haven't, our very first podcast episode, and we may revisit it because we haven't watched the Kevin James.
We did not watch the reboot of the
cartoon.
We didn't watch. There was a number of reboots of the cartoon.
Yeah, we watched a few of them and we commented on them, but we covered the original He-Man cartoon in our very first episode. It is not our greatest episode because it was our first.
We tried,
but
it was a beginning.
I think we might do it again sometime. But last week we covered the 1987 Masters of the Universe. Super fun, and we talked all about the history of that disaster. And today we're talking about the remake or the redo.
The remix.
So let's get into some history and fun facts. Last time we talked a little bit about the history just of the original Masters of the Universe movie, but this time, and we promised this in our last episode, that we would talk about the toys.
Yeah.
So they are featured on the Toys That Made Us on Netflix. I highly recommend that. But I found some great research about the toys this week. So we're going to talk about Wave 1. The He-Man toys come in waves.
Yes.
So Wave 1 began in 1982. And essentially, Mattel had Barbie. And they did have Hot Wheels cars for boys, but they wanted something like Barbie that was for boys. They wanted, they're competing with like G.I. Joe. They want to get in on the action figure kind of scene.
Yes.
And with Barbie, especially in the 80s, they had what they called this razor blade method of selling. That like you sell the razor, but you keep selling razor blades, and that's really what keeps you in business, right? So we talked a little bit in one of our other episodes about how in Gem, it was a gem. Barbies also had, like, when you'd go into the Barbie aisle in, like, a toy store, they had, like, dresses and shoes and pets and houses and cars and all of that.
All the accessories.
All of the accessories, and those are the razor blades. That's what keeps you buying. Like, you might have one Barbie, but it's cheaper for your mom to get you, like, a dress that costs $2 for your Barbie rather than, like, a $14 Barbie, right?
Right.
So basically, that's kind of what they wanted to do with He-Man. They wanted something like that to have a stronger presence in the boys' toy market because, they needed to crack into that demographic. So in 1982, they make these action figures for He-Man, and they came with a mini comic to introduce the character and to expand this lore of Eternia. Did you, when you had we'll get into our memories, but do you remember the comic at all?
I mean, a little bit, but when I played with He-Man toys, I was too young. I wasn't into comics yet.
Right,
so
you
I wouldn't have been
really little.
Yeah, to be honest, I saw the comic more when I was older and into comics, and then I saw because the comics continued for quite a while.
Oh, interesting.
Like they would do some, like multiple runs, basically.
Right. So the first wave included 8 core figures, 2 vehicles, and Battle Cat.
Yes.
Who we have.
We have Battle Cat. And Castle Grayskull.
Which also was in the first wave. Yeah. So the first wave of figures, there's 4 good guys, 3 bad guys, and then this guy who's like a neutral character, which is interesting to me.
Okay.
So there's what they call the 8-back card. Now, this means that basically each toy would have on the back of the packaging, the cardboard, and then like the clear plastic shows you the toy.
Yeah.
On the back of the cardboard, it shows you all 8 of these figures.
Right, so you could collect them all.
So you can collect them all, yeah. So first there's He-Man. He comes with a sword, a shield, and an axe.
Yep.
Do you remember what his special thing was?
The twist and punch or something.
Yeah, it's like a twist and like a power punch.
But did that come later? Was that tier 1?
I think that either came in 1 or 2, because they also had a 12-back card, but the 12-back card came in 83.
Okay.
And I think it did come later because they advertised it on the card, like in the corner. So it said like comes with twisting action, like that. Yeah. Then we have Teela, also known as Warrior Goddess.
Okay.
She has like a serpent kind of headdress on.
Yep.
And a staff that's a serpent.
A little bit.
So
yeah.
she looks almost Egyptian and also not wearing pants.
No, she had like this like she was wearing like a bodysuit kind of.
Yeah, like a bathing suit.
Yeah.
And okay. Then we have Stratos. Do you remember who he is?
Yeah, he could fly.
Yeah, he's a winged warrior.
Yeah, he had like feathers, wings, yep.
And kind of like sunglass kind of things.
And then let me guess, Man-at-Arms.
Man-at-Arms, yep. That's Master of Weapons. Yep. Did you have Man-at-Arms?
I did not. I had He-Man.
Man-at-Arms comes with... He also is not wearing... None of them are wearing pants, now that I look at it. Interesting.
They were supposed to be sort of space barbarian kind of.
Yeah, so they're wearing like loincloth kind of. Man-at-Arms, though, has a helmet and he has almost like a mace sort of thing.
Yep. He's wearing pants.
No.
It's not green?
Well, they're green, but it looks like his body. Those are pants?
Yeah.
But his abs are green.
That's because he has a shirt on.
It's like a bodysuit?
Yeah. It's like his face. He's got white skin.
Yeah. Well, he has, Then on the evil side, we've got Beastman.
Yep.
Savage, who's a savage henchman.
Yep.
We have Merman, who's described as an ocean warlord.
Yep, I remember him.
Skeletor, the Lord of Destruction, who also comes with a staff and a sword.
Yep.
Which is like the same sword as He-Man.
It looked just like He-Man,
but it's different color. Yep. And then we have Zodak, Cosmic Enforcer, and he's got a ray gun.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember him.
So we're going to play a game called Guess How Much It's Worth.
Okay. I'm guessing Zodak is worth a lot because I have not seen a Zodak figure in
That's interesting,
many years.
So He-Man with the 8-back card from 1982. I will tell you this, it's less than $5,000, but how much do you think it is? There's a range. You mentioned a large number right off the top. I wouldn't have gone that high, but now that you said $5,000, I'm going to say I don't know, $2,500. $2,700 to $3,200. Okay. Yeah. If you just have a loose one, and it's verified that it's from 82, 83, it's about $130, $150.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Man-at-Arms. I know we got ours for like 15.
And he's not tier 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man-at-Arms with the 8-back card is valued at about $850 to $1,150. That difficulty to find is moderate. He-Man is pretty hard.
Teela, I bet you, is hard to find.
Merman is marked at $800 to $1,100. Moderate difficulty to find. Skeletor, about the same as He-Man, $2,500 to $3,000. And that one is a little bit harder to find and sells pretty quickly, which is why it's harder to find, because it's more desirable. Stratos, $1,200 to $1,500. This is, though, very uncommon.
Yeah.
Appears often, but you need to do some hunting. Probably, again, because not as desirable maybe as He-Man. I feel like Stratos is the kind of thing that if somebody didn't know, like if my mom found that among her refuse of toys,
she wouldn't know what it was.
No, she'd be like, oh, okay, it's just this action figure, and it'd be tossed in with all the Fisher Price and everything else. So I think if you see He-Man, you at least know to look, Here we go with Teela. Really interesting. Does Teela have... Is she a redhead? She's got...
Yeah, kind of... Yeah, red to auburn.
Yeah, she's got, like, auburn-colored...
She had in the movie, too. This movie we're about to talk about. They gave her auburnish hair.
She is uncommon. Again, some hunting needed, 1200 to 1500. Zodak is uncommon. Removable armor, laser pistol, and 800 to 1100.
Wow.
Yeah. Then Mattel released one exclusive figure in 1982, and it says there's a lot of debate about this figure, but it does exist and was a mail order exclusive through Wonder Bread. And I will show you what character is that. Do you know? It looks almost like He-Man, but he's got
Yeah, it says
brown
Wondar.
hair. Yeah.
Because Wonder Bread paid for it.
Because of Wonder
So it's
Bread.
basically like He-Man with brown hair, yeah.
This, in its original packaging, is worth $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, I bet. Because how many people do you think really turned in the Wonder Bread stuff to get it?
It says it's incredibly rare.
He was never in the cartoons, or it was never part of the lore. It was just a promotional thing.
Even loose, it's $1,850 to $2,300.
We need to start digging for some Wonder.
I know, right? He was only available through a Wonder Bread mail order offer, and he's described as a savage, ancient version of He-Man. It's a controversial figure due to its scarcity, and the fact that Mattel never actually claimed the character as part of the line. So it has a very long story, but basically, so they didn't release any accessories except for Battle Cat, who came with armor. So that's the green and yellow striped tiger, right? That is also in the cartoon known as Cringer. And it came with He-Man a bunch of times too, I guess, packaged together as like a gift set. We also had as we mentioned, Castle Grayskull, the green castle, boxed 400 to 600. Loose, this says 110 to 150. Again, but I found ours kind of on a deal from somebody who didn't really know what they had. And then we also had the Battle Ram, which was one of the vehicles.
Yep. And there was an air thing, right?
Yeah, the Wind Raider.
Wind Raider, yep.
Which we sort of, did you? We sort of saw that in the original movie. Like, they tried to make something that was similar to that He-Man was riding around in. So, yeah, that was the original toy line. And then they came, as I said, with these little mini comics. And then, do you know what the FCC did that helped make this so incredibly popular, Steve?
What's that?
In 1984, the FCC basically loosened up their regulations
on violence.
Violence, but a bunch of other things with children's television. So one of the things about kids' TV is that initially there were a lot of limitations on how much advertising could be in children's TV. Mm-hmm. And specifically, that meant that you could not have merch for a show or a show based on toys because it would sort of be an advertisement for those toys.
Got it.
So for about a period of 10 years, and in the 90s, they got themselves together and put some more regulations on advertisements. But for a while, it was like the wild day, the Wild
West. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for boys at least, the big three in the 80s all did that, right? Mm-hmm. He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Yep.
Every one of them were cartoons that were developed to sell toys.
Yeah. And also other ones that you might like that are kind of forgotten. Thundercats.
Oh, every toy that came out would then have a cartoon.
Yeah.
Mask.
Yep.
Right? What was it?
Well, even for
Sky Commanders, anything that came out, Visionaries, they were even these small toys which they would try to do a cartoon.
Yeah, and even for girls, we talked in one of our other episodes about Strawberry Shortcake. Strawberry Shortcake and Care Bears started as Hallmark cards, mm-hmm. but they were meant always to be like the characters on the cards then had books and also toys and also a TV show, so that it would be like a whole IP. It'd be a whole IP, an independent prop, right?
Right, cartoon for
So that's a little bit about the history of the toys. The movie that we watched.
So this movie is interesting because this movie was originally announced in 2009.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm not surprised given what I had to endure.
It went through multiple director and writer and cast changes before it was actually the rights were sold to Netflix in 2022. So, you're talking 13 years later?
Yeah.
The rights get sold after it is just stuck in limbo. And then 2 years, it seems like Netflix thought they would do something with it, decided not to, and then they sold the rights to Amazon. And Amazon is who actually put it out.
Now, I'm going to tell you guys something just right off the bat. Steve and I are going to have very different opinions about this movie, so it should be an interesting conversation. I will say that every time you have this thing where, like, something's in production for years and years and it goes through different hands and different writers and blah, 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 it is always a disaster. And in my opinion, that's a little bit what happened here.
Not at all. But at least, and part of this might be because Amazon got a hold of it, because they obviously, after changing hands and changing everything so many times over years in this, right? You're talking total 15 years this was in limbo or moving around. Amazon acquires the rights in 2024, and by January 2025, they're in principal photography. Like, they moved on it. Once they got the rights, they started shooting. So they obviously bought the rights with intent. They weren't just like picking them up. Oh, we might do something.
Right.
They knew they were planning on doing something with this.
So this is directed by Travis Knight, a filmmaker, animator, and former rapper.
Travis Knight, was he in the New Kids on the Block?
No, I don't think so. Also known as Chili T.
Oh.
Had a hip hop. I'm putting hip hop career.
Jordan Knight, I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of Jordan Knight, yeah. And Jordan Knight flips houses now, or is that Jonathan?
That's Jonathan.
It's Jonathan. Well, it's not either one of them. It's Chili T, who had a hip hop career, and I'm putting career in air quotes.
That just aged us. New Kids on the Block. Maybe we need to do a New Kids on the Block show. Maybe we do need to do a music review.
We should do a music review, because I would love to get all up in it about Tiffany and the inspiration behind Robin Sparkles and Debbie Gibson and all that.
Bobby Brown, Boyz II Men.
So at any rate, Travis Knight also directed the upcoming Wildwood. He did the live action films Bumblebee, as well as this, and he also worked as lead animator for stop animation studio Leica. Mm-hmm. Which did things like Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls, that kind of thing. And Wildwood is, again, one of those stop animation films. It was written by 4 different people. Chris Butler, who also worked on Paranorman and worked for Leica, the same thing with Travis Knight. So probably they've worked together before. Aaron and Adam Nee are the Nee brothers. They're a filmmaking duo. They've done The Last Romantic, Band of Robbers, The Lost City, and then this movie. And then also David Callum, who has a little bit more experience with superhero stuff. So he did Wonder Woman 1984. That explains a lot. Mortal Kombat from 2021, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse from 2023. So a number of people kind of all working on this. We've got a number of producers as well. So Nicholas, I'm so sorry, Galitzine is a British actor, and he appeared in a couple of things like Little Things for a while, and then he also did the 2021 jukebox musical version of Cinderella. That was the one with Camila Cabello and Idina Menzel, who I always want to call Adele Dazeem. Minnie Driver, Billy Porter were also in that. And he also contributed to, it looks like, the soundtrack for that as well. Okay. Also, he was in The Craft Legacy.
He was.
Look, I have never seen that. I did not know until just now that it existed. And I need to watch that.
And you haven't seen The Craft Legacy?
I don't think so.
And he has the distinction of being in 2 movies in the theater at the same time, because he's also currently in The Sheep Detective.
Yeah, which would have been a more pleasant experience than this. He's also in the upcoming Red, White, and Royal Wedding, which was based on a best-selling book, A Matter of Time, The Mosquito Bowl. So a lot of things that are upcoming. So it seems like he's kind of an up-and-coming actor. We also have Camila Mendes, who's probably best known for being Veronica in the show Riverdale.
Yes.
And she has also been in a few like comedies like Do Revenge. She was in Palm Springs and that kind of thing. But we all know her from Endgame. Alison Brie, you might know from Mad Men and Community, and and Glow, which she is amazing in. Alison Brie also has done a number of independent films with her husband, Dave Franco, and I just think she's kind of underrated. Not in this, though.
Yep, she was excellent in this as Evelyn.
She plays Evelyn.
Idris Elba is Man-at-Arms.
Yep.
Which, again, big name.
Yep, you know him from The Office. Yep. I know him from The Office. I know him from The Office. I would say, was he in The Wire?
He was in a lot of things. He's a huge actor. They considered him at one point for possibly James Bond. I mean, he's been...
Oh, man. I would watch Idris Elba as James Bond. I didn't think that he was right for Roland, but I did like him in that part, even though...
in the Two Towers? Or the Gunslinger?
The Gunslinger. Yeah. And I just felt like they can't it's hard to get that right, and I'm hoping that they kind of redo that. But he also does a ton of voiceover work.
He does, yeah.
Zootopia, Jungle Book, Finding Dory, Sonic the Hedgehog. It's just interesting to me. We also have Morena Baccarin. Who does she play? Oh, she was
Sorceress.
And she was in Deadpool.
She was, yep. And also, I think the last big one we really have is Jared Leto, who plays Skeletor. And Jared Leto is a character. I mean, he's a method actor in anything he's in. He completely submerges himself.
Yeah, well,
and he does a great job here as
here
Skeletor.
he does voiceover work. I mean, it's not him really. They also said Kristen Wiig was in this, and she's
the voice of Roboto.
She's the voice of Roboto. And then, one of the things though I felt, Morena Baccarin and Camila Mendes have kind of, to me, a little bit of a similar look. And Morena is older, but they both have I don't know. But I also, ChatGPT tells me I'm on the spectrum, and my therapist doesn't disagree. And I sometimes have a problem with faces, and it could just be that they kind of have similar coloring, you know what I mean? But fun facts about Megan as we do this. So we had a budget of $170 to $200 million. They are planning a sequel, and I don't think it's going to go, but we'll see.
It actually is. They're still talking about it.
They're talking about it.
So we'll talk about that when we get to reception.
They're talking about it, and they'll keep talking about it, and I don't know that it'll get past that point.
I think you're in for a shock here. So
you're in for a shock. But yeah, that's the movie basically, as Steve said, they wanted it to be an epic scale of Lord of the Rings kind of thing. And they have also, I think, tried to find a balance between a sword and sorcery film that's sort of new and also exciting for kids that'll kind of bring new fans into this universe and also playing fan service to the people who are, in Gen X.
Yes.
That is a little bit of history and fun facts for you. We're going to pause here and we'll play either the trailer or a clip, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about our memories and a little bit briefly about our memories or lack thereof, and then we'll get into our full review and recap. Steve, we talked a little bit about the toys. What are, I know you had a whole bunch of these.
I had some of these. I really liked He-Man a lot. I never had as many as I had of other
You didn't have
toys.
Zodak?
I did not have Zodak. I wish I did. I had He-Man. I remember wanting these so badly. Probably because these were I was probably into He-Man when I was the youngest out of toys, right? He-Man, the figures were a little bigger than G.I. Joe's.
Yeah.
And they were a lot more durable than Transformers.
Okay.
Right? Transformers could sometimes break or get stuck because they had a lot of movable parts.
Yeah.
Because you're able to transform the robots to vehicles back again. And G.I. Joe were a little bit smaller, and they had smaller guns and things that could get lost easier. He-Man, first off, the He-Man figures didn't have as many movable parts. Like their elbow and knees didn't move.
Yeah, they just had the twist,
they were more durable.
Right.
You could play with them outside. You could throw them in the water. So you could do a lot more, which I don't know if you recall, but back in the heyday golden age of like action figure toys sales, a lot of the commercials would have kids outside playing with them, like at a river or like on rocks, right? And that's of course what you'd want to do.
They're
right?
showing you how to do it.
Yeah, and so you could play with He-Man in a sandbox, right? Which you could do with G.I. Joe too, but sand would get inside in the knee joints or in the hip joints, right? Because G.I. Joes had more movable pieces to allow them for more to basically have different poses and things.
Yeah, that's interesting. We didn't talk about this in the history, but I think part of the reason they wanted to redo this movie was because Barbie did so well. And it is kind of tied into the original history in the 80s that Barbie was doing very well in the early 80s. And then they wanted, to follow that up with something for boys. And I think that they tried to do a similar thing here.
I mean, He-Man, they were killing it at the time, right? I mean, they what they were great at was that they had good toys with, kids really liked. Little boys loved them. I loved the He-Man toys. They were constantly having new figures. Mm-hmm. So the cartoon was always introducing new characters, which were then toys. And so there was not only like the first tier, the second tier, but you had it kept expanding the universe. So there was lots of bad guys. There was lots of good guys that were friends of He-Man, and a lot of those show up in this movie. And then they, of course, expanded with She-Ra, which which was smart, because then they said, oh, well, Barbie doesn't have to be the only one that has girls. Mm-hmm. They tried to bring girls into the He-Man universe a little bit with She-Ra, and they had a crossover movie with He-Man and She-Ra. So some of the She-Ra's bad guys you could also play with He-Man, right? And so toys could be crossed over a little bit.
Yeah, my recollection is basically that I feel like I saw ads for She-Ra, possibly tried to watch it, and felt like this is still for boys.
The writing in the cartoon was still, and we'll do She-Ra one day, but the writing in there's action and writing in it, which makes it a little bit, kind of more for boys, but they tried to write it from more of a girl's point of view, right? She-Ra is a little bit more Barbie-esque or Rainbow Bright-esque a little bit.
No.
She has a flying Pegasus horse.
Yeah, that part I did.
Maybe a little bit My Little Pony-ish, right? Yeah. And so, some of her friends are girls as well, but there's also guys. And it's just, it's supposed to, I would almost say it's almost a little Sailor Moon-ish.
I think that's a better comparison, because Rainbow Bright, when we revisited Strawberry Shortcake, I think we gave it like a 4 out of 10, because Strawberry Shortcake in rewatch, it really was meant for 3 to 6 year olds. It's meant for very young children. Rainbow Bright is kind of also it's learning colors, but it's also that Care Bears and Rainbow Bright are very comparable. And age-wise, I would say 4 to 8, maybe 5 to 9 at the highest, right? But She-Ra, I think part of this, as I'm thinking about it, She-Ra didn't come out till 85. And I would have been 6, and I think I just would have been too young for it. Also, I don't believe my parents allowed me to watch this. I know for a fact one time I was over at our next door neighbor's house, and they were watching it, and I got in trouble. And I don't think I got in trouble just for being over there and not telling my mom where I was. I think it was also what we were watching. Spider-Man, I don't think would have been as big of an issue, but I do think that the FCC didn't care as much about violence, but my parents did.
But, it wasn't really violent. It still had the aspect,
but
there's no killing in it. There's no...
Right, but I don't know, it's interesting, because I was allowed to read whatever I wanted.
Right.
So what's interesting is that because I was a more advanced reader, I was reading books that had more adult content in them. 4th, 5th grade. It by Stephen King.
Yeah, but you couldn't watch.
But they also, would they have known really what was in it?
Probably not if they
probably
didn't read it
not.
themselves, right?
So but so I would say, I think it just didn't appeal to me for whatever reason, but we did have some of the toys. A lot of times we got things kind of second hand in terms of that, because the cartoon, I think, was still, when my brother was young, was still on in reruns.
Oh, definitely.
By that point, when you have your second child, you don't care as much.
Right.
You loosen up.
He was able to watch and play with all that.
Yeah, he didn't get in trouble for that. So those are some of our memories, and I think that is a lot of what they're trying to tap into with this movie. So let's get into it. Again, full spoilers. We start with a voiceover. Now, I will say that this does pay off in a couple beats, but it takes a while.
Yeah, we start with Adam narrating his beginnings.
My issue here, what did you think of the voiceover? You talked to me about that first.
I put, it narrates a bit of info, but I got right into the scene. We have Child Adam, and we have Cringer.
Yep.
Who's young, and Cringer talks. This is huge, because Cringer talked in the cartoon. So this is not that crappy 1987, we're going to go our own route. This is hardcore, we're sticking to canon.
Yeah, and Cringer wasn't even in the 87 movie, and neither was he is Battlecat. Who's
Cringer
Panther.
turns into Battlecat.
Panther.
It was Skeletor's, but that's a little bit less known. But yeah, we have that, and we get right into, Idris Elba is Man-at-Arms.
Yeah, so this is my issue. We didn't need the voiceover, and they use it for a joke later,
which is hilarious. I think it's
the
awesome.
Joke is okay. My issue is that the delivery. It makes sense in the context of the joke, but the delivery of this voiceover, it's like he's trying to be Ryan Reynolds, but he doesn't have the charisma of Ryan Reynolds. And it came off to me a little flat and very, like, the accent, I put in there, the accent is weird, and now I know, because he's British trying to do an American accent. That's why. They should have just had him fall into Britain or something. But at any rate, the actual part where we're in Eternia, for the most part, I liked that. Mm-hmm. And I wish this is the same thing that I wanted from the other movie. Just, they wanted something like Lord of the Rings, then just do that. Just do that. You don't have to have anything on Earth at all. Okay, and I don't know if people, because of Wizard of Oz or something, but like, you don't have in Lord of the Rings some, like, from the 87 movie, you don't have Julie and Kevin coming in their jean jackets. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But here, we've got a little bit of info dumping. Eternia is the beating heart of the universe, and Castle Grayskull is the heart of that heart. And then the power is the power that heart contains, and the sword of power is where it kind of sits. So it's like the heart within the heart. Right. But I put, He-Man sounds like he's 14 and has a weird accent. Eternia, the CG here, I don't know, it felt a little flat to me. It's not the matte paintings we got in the 87 version. No. But and I like, in general, I thought that the look was very much like the cartoon, which I did like. Yeah. What I did not like was that it looked about 10 years old. And I don't know why they didn't put more money into the CG. But they didn't. But Battlecat, I put, sounds exactly like the cartoon. Yeah. But their voices are almost identical. So yeah, we get Man-at-Arms.
Idris Elba, who's playing Man-at-Arms, and he's doing fight training with the kids. Mm-hmm. And young Adam is there. Tila we meet, but she's young like Adam is. They're probably 10, 11 years old.
And his costuming was good here in terms of looking like the toys.
He looks just like the toy.
Yeah.
Almost everybody does.
Yeah.
This is, I'm going to tell you, the thing that popped into my mind within 10 minutes of watching this movie is this is the movie they should have done in 87. They would have sold a ton of toys.
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been the death of the He-Man franchise.
Well,
they would have continued.
There's a few things that I didn't like that they did, but I do like the look of the castle. The courtyard is great. It's very medieval. Everything here is cohesive. And it is that sword and sorcery full fantasy movie with, you have swords, that there are also ray guns, and somehow it works. Like, I can't tell you how exactly. Yep. It did not work in the 87 version. It was confusing.
Because it tried to go to Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's some ray gun kind of stuff, but everything stays He-Man.
Yeah.
Right? The director, they're doing their best to stay as close to the cartoon live action as they can. The characters, the setting, costumes, everything matches really, really well with the toys and the cartoon.
But we also have weird messaging about masculinity, and that starts right from the jump. So Teela, I don't want to speak badly of child actors who are currently still children. I don't mind talking badly about child actors who are now like 48. You know what I mean? The girl who plays Teela doesn't, I'll put this as nicely as I can, she does not match with her adult counterpart.
Okay.
I do think that she was a fairly good actress. I just don't think she looked right for this role. I guess that's my issue.
Well, luckily she's only in about 4 minutes of the film.
Yeah, but she's taller than He-Man.
Which, first off, he's supposed to be sort of a runt, right? All the kids are kind of taller than him that he's fighting with.
Yeah.
But secondly, developmentally, that's that age where girls are taller than boys. It's before boys hit their real growth.
Yeah, but we also have, I'm going to tell you guys right off the bat, in my opinion, they wrote this incorrectly, and Teela is essentially the hero of this movie. He-Man doesn't know what he's doing through a lot of it. Man-of-Arms is drunk through most of it, and they set her up to be the hero, and I don't love it.
No.
I don't love it. If it were her movie, great, but it's not.
I don't see it that way.
Okay.
Adam is bumbling in a lot of it, but if you watch the cartoon, that was Adam. That's why no one thought he was He-Man, right?
But
Adam was kind of a coward. He acted that way, and so.
But that's the thing. He acted that way.
Yeah.
My point is that this is like a Clark Kent Superman situation. You have Clark Kent. When we watch the Christopher Reeves version, he is Superman. Clark Kent is a disguise that he puts on. Mm-hmm. Now, if you remember, we also watched Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Lois and Clark, he is Clark Kent, and he kind of has the heroics of Superman, but he's acting suave when he's Superman. Like, that's the act, right? And he's more Clark. And that's kind of what they did here. He's kind of putting He-Man on as the costume. And I wished that it had been reversed. That's all I'm saying. But I do think it's a character arc. They needed to do a little bit more to have him come into himself. I guess that's what I don't know. It didn't work for me. But anyway.
We have an introduction of his father, King Roland.
Yeah.
And he is very critical of Adam, who's not doing well fighting Teela and with the other kids. And he basically
challenges.
He doesn't like that he's weak, and it kind of embarrasses him. Mm-hmm. But his point is, I'm not defending the dad at all, but his point that he's trying to make to Adam is the world is tough.
Yeah, like, he says
this is a violent world, and you need to be able to fight for yourself.
He says this is no place for the weak, but also he's like a 40-year-old man, and he challenges an 8-year-old to a sword fight and a duel. And then when Adam is knocked down, he's like, "That's what you get, you weakling."
Yeah,
but you're 40, and this is like so. You know what it reminded me of? That movie Mommy Dearest that was about Joan Crawford. Her daughter wrote about how her mother was a narcissistic abuser and would challenge her to like swim races, and she's like 6, and you're a practice swimmer in your 30s. 100%. You're always going to win.
But then to prove the dad right afterwards, Skeletor's forces attack and wreck the city.
Yeah,
like you see, there is violence and terribleness in the world.
Here's my issue with this: the sorceress is supposed to protect them. Teela calls him a squig, and then she goes, "What's the sorceress looking at?" They turn, and in Castle Grayskull, the sorceress is just standing in the window, looking out at an invasion about to happen, doing nothing.
Well,
Nothing.
There's a reason for that. The sorceress has to protect the castle, and she can't leave the castle unless she turns into a bird. She can only leave the castle in the form of a bird, which we see in the movie as well.
So she doesn't help, she can't, but at one point she does a force field. Do that around...
That's in the castle.
Okay. So her powers are very limited.
Within the castle, in Castle Grayskull, yes.
So dumb. Okay. I wish that they had set that up. All you needed was a scene of them talking to the sorceress and then coming out to do the training, to set that up, because I was, as somebody who doesn't know the lore, I was very confused.
But in this battle scene, this invasion scene, all of a sudden we have characters from the toy line. Fisto, Ram Man, Mechaneck, Tila's fighting, or is a kid, but Man-at-Arms, right? You have all these people from the toys, and then also you have Beastman, you have Lockjaw, all these bad guys. Evil Lyn is there. I wrote down and boxed it with multiple exclamation points. This is how you do it.
My notes, as somebody who did not know the lore, I put, this battle is confusing. There are ships like Star Wars. Now there are beasts. A guy becomes a metal snake to attack another guy, and he has a big arm. None of this makes sense to me. There's a guy with a hook. There's another guy with some kind of a jaw. I was like, this is... And some of the makeup is horrible. Some of the makeup is just horrible. Man of Arms battles Jaw guy.
Trapjaw.
And I don't care. Those are what my notes say.
I thought this was fantastic.
Well, I will say I didn't care because I thought Man of Arms was going to win. And what happens?
He doesn't win.
He is defeated horribly.
He gets defeated in front of his daughter.
Yeah.
By Lockjaw, and his daughter kind of helps drag him out, and then the two of them jump out the window before the castle explodes.
Now, I will say, up to this point, other than a little bit more that they could have done with the CG around the castle, everything did look pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then we have Skeletor.
What was wrong with Skeletor? I thought Skeletor was done well.
Everything.
First off, Jared Leto does fantastic in anything.
First of all, no, he doesn't.
Yes,
and he's
he was
a cult
awesome
leader.
Is Skeletor in this movie.
Jared Leto, at any rate, here's my issue, because the highlight of the 87 movie was Frank Langella.
Yep, Frank Langella.
And he was great. Now his makeup was stiff at some points. This is an entire CG character. This is an entire CG character. There's no
It's not. There is. He's in the suit.
There's no suit.
Jared Leto is Skeletor.
If he's in that suit, I don't even know what to tell you. It looks like a bad CG character. It is horribly acted, way worse than original. It is not,
because if you look at the casting, he's put down there, and all of the people who do voices of CG are under a different category.
Here's what I put. This is so much worse than the original, and that's saying something. Then we have Alison Brie as Evil Lyn, and I said her acting is like a pine tree. I don't know what I meant by that. That's what I meant. I just got my own joke. She says, that's it. When I raise my fist. Here's my issue with this movie. This is throughout the entire thing. This movie is fan service, and it's too much of it, including the cameo we get later that we'll talk about, which I have an issue with also because it brings you out of the world. But pick a tone. Pick a tone, man. I don't understand the forced, and I'm putting this in huge air quotes, comedy. The comedy doesn't work.
Because that was part of the cartoon, too.
But it doesn't work,
It is fan service, but I'm the fan, and I felt serviced.
That's upsetting.
And I loved it.
Oh, gosh. We need to maybe put that a different way. But my point is, it works in the cartoon because it is a cartoon. And the humor there is meant to undercut the violence so that younger kids are not scared. So that Skeletor comes off as creepy and evil, and then he's also bumbling. Here, it's like they shoved Dr. Evil from Austin Powers or some weird SNL skit into the middle of this so that it looks like it's a parody of itself, and it's tonally just all over the place, and it's not cohesive, and it doesn't work, and it drove me crazy through the entire film. And I honestly think that was my biggest issue with the movie. And all it would take is that's an editing issue. It's not directing, it's not writing, it's editing. Watching a comic bomb where nobody is laughing in the audience, and it's awkward and horrible.
I was laughing and I found it delightful.
I didn't hear you.
So now...
And I was in the same room as
So now the sorceress, as Skeletor and his forces are trying to attack the castle, the sorceress sends 10-year-old Adam and the sword to Earth through a portal so that Skeletor cannot get to him.
Yeah, but there's also no reason for this either. And
You say there's no reason for this, but to be honest, I think there is, and this is why. We send Adam goes to Earth for 15 years, so that when he comes back for the rest of the movie, we're experiencing Eternia and this whole thing new with him.
But we're not, because we just learned all about it. And if they had started with Adam in his weird HR job where he is a sensitive man, start there. And then he kind of somehow, maybe he hits his head and he starts having flashbacks of Eternia and not knowing if it's a dream or if it's real. And then when we have the invasion, right, of Earth, because the sword, he sees the sword, and maybe that's when he kind of fully remembers, or he sees the sword and he feels a call to hold the sword, and then he starts having all these flashes. Then we could learn about it. So I like the beginning, but I think it starts in the wrong place. And I think if you had started on Earth and showed his life, and then he remembers it as we're seeing it, he's coming, then it becomes part of his character arc, that he's a mild-mannered HR guy who helps people, fix their conflicts through talking.
Right.
And then he kind of grows into He-Man by remembering his past and who he is.
I don't know.
That would have worked better narratively.
So we have the sorceress send him as a 10-year-old through the portal with the sword. And then narration kicks back in, and we have Adam saying, and that's how I got to Oklahoma City. And he looks up at a blind date across the table. And I thought this was hilarious. I thought this was a great payoff.
I thought that was hilarious too, actually. I did put that was really funny. And it does pay off the narration that I didn't understand at the beginning. The fact that this blind date just stares at him.
And then she's like, I need to leave. And he's like, oh, you need to step away. And she's like, no, I'm not coming back.
She actually says, I need to get this. And he goes, your phone did ring. And she goes, I need to get this and leave.
Can you imagine, blind dates are so awkward to begin with, right? But can you imagine being on a blind date and someone you ask them about their life and they go off about how they're from another planet?
Yeah.
And they were transported here when they were, I don't know what I would be like,
My instinct would either be, so I have two instincts about that, because I did think about this, right? My one instinct is, as a woman, I'm afraid. No, you're laughing at me, but legitimately,
this person's mentally unstable.
Well, yeah. Right before I met you, I went on a date with somebody that I had met online, and on my way there, and didn't realize because I didn't have my phone on while I was driving. While I was driving there, he called and messaged me 17 times. And it was a 20-minute drive, and I was not late, and it freaked me out. And thankfully, what happened is that some friends of mine happened to be at Barnes and Noble, and when I went to the bathroom, I saw a message, and then I ran into my friend, and I said, this guy that I'm meeting, he messaged me a ton of times, can you come over? So they came over, and then I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to go talk to them. And then I kind of...
He's thorough.
Extricated myself. Well...
He follows up.
Yeah.
I feel like those are good things.
But my other instinct is, this is a story, and I do like a story.
Yeah,
and this is a story.
Fascinated by what else happened.
Oh, no. I mean that part of my brain would kind of detach and be like, this is a story that I'm going to tell other people for the rest of my life. Whenever anybody says, what's the worst date you've ever been on? This is the story that I'm going to tell. So it was a really good setup. It was a surprise for the audience. But I also would say, what happened in that 15 years? Because that's how long it's been. I wish that we had gotten, again, a little bit of Superman stuff here. Was he adopted? Was he in foster care? He has a roommate now. Did he go to college? I don't know. And I just wish, like, that part of the backstory, like, all you have to do is, it's like Clark Kent calls home to the farm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's all you have to do. There's no, now, or if you want him really when he goes back to Eternia, other than, we'll talk about what happens with the roommate, for him to have no ties, then just say, like, because of his age and because he was a boy, and he had this story and he couldn't speak English, he bounced around to, various homes and, ended up getting a GED and then went to college on his own. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have him, even in something to the roommate says, oh, it's Father's Day, I gotta call my dad. Oh, I don't, oh, sorry, buddy. I know you never had a dad growing up. You know what I mean? You can do little things like that. But he says, he's in an HR meeting and he says, I have the power to be the best version of myself. Which I also thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, Adam is living a very normal life, which I think it
Go ahead.
It almost reminds me a little bit of Office Space.
Yes.
It's like the humdrum of everyday normal routines.
It is, but what I loved about this was that it was very clearly meant to be the Gen Z version of Office Space. Yes. Because everyone is hypersensitive.
Yeah.
He, on his lunch breaks, looks up swords, and then he has to talk to HR, even though he's in HR.
Yeah. Everyone's conflict averse, 100%.
Yeah. And his boss is like, hey, I want to be a cool boss, and like he doesn't even realize he's being reprimanded.
Yeah.
Because she's so like trying to be sensitive about stuff.
Part of him being everyday life kind of thing is he goes to the gym. And this was a great scene because he starts working out and Dolph Lundgren walks up and and so you're like, oh, cameo Dolph Lundgren. Not only is it a cameo, but he says, you're taking my spot.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's just sometimes, it's like the Stan Lee thing, like it takes you out of the movie then. But I do see why they did that. It's like, we watched the TV show Supergirl that we'll cover sometime, and Kara's parents are Dean Cain and Helen Slater.
Yeah.
And they have a little cameos as well. And then they end up having, I guess, a little bit maybe of a larger role in the series later on. But
I thought it was a nice it's kind of paying a nice homage because it would have been easy for them to be like, oh yeah, there was that 87 movie which just sucked. And they didn't.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is Dolph Lundgren. Like, because Dolph Lundgren's had a pretty big action career.
Yeah, he has. And I think you're right. They could have, you're right. They're trying to do a little nod to it. So, then we have the sword. And this is interesting because I forget now the woman who plays his boss, but she was on Saturday Night Live. And it's not Ego Nodum, it's somebody else.
Oh no, it's Shashir Zamata who was in Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, Shashir.
Yep. She was also in Ghosts, which you're a big fan of.
She was in Ghosts?
She was in 2 episodes. Yeah, in 2025.
Was she like a customer in the motel or something?
It's possible. I don't recall which.
She's also in Agatha All Along, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, she's amazing. And I really liked her in this as the Gen Z boss, trying to be diplomatic and also not wanting conflict. But basically, yeah, she tells him that he's great at his job, but he's being fired anyway. That's essentially what she says. And they do have, here I did laugh, they have a funny bit where she goes, you're creeping out so-and-so, I think, like, I don't know, Kevin or whatever, and he goes, really? And he leans back to look, and Kevin is standing, like, staring at them. and then ducks back into his cubicle. It was kind of funny. So he finds the sword.
Yeah, he basically puts an online ad up saying, "Have you seen this sword?"
Yeah.
Because he lost it when he arrived on Earth.
It took him 15 years to do that.
Yeah, and finally someone texts him and they find it. And basically, so he's brought to a comic book shop where the sword is basically being used as a prop.
Yeah. This is the only... So he takes the sword and basically steals it from the comic book shop. Yeah,
he steals it, yeah.
And runs out and then says the words, but nothing really happens. Right. Sorry if you hear our dog in the background. There's a cat outside. So he says the words, but nothing really happens. And then all of a sudden, there's an invasion.
Yeah, he's arrested.
Yeah.
By the police. And on the way to the police station, they just see all these people running the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And then you see Beast Man.
This is my only, I don't know. This is my only low light here, is that they start playing the song, What's Going On? But then he says, what's going on? You don't need that. Just have the song. But it maybe... So sometimes you don't know, like, what songs you're going to get the rights to, but, like, again, that's editing.
Yeah. If
you wanted that song and then you ended up getting that song, you don't need to have him say what's going on and then the song starts singing what's going on. It's just very jarring. I will say, though, the rest of the soundtrack, I thought was really interesting, and it had a really cool 80s vibe to it that went very closely, again, to the cartoon, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't look up the guy to see if he had also done Stranger Things, but I wouldn't be surprised because it was that kind of like 80s throwback vibe, but it worked well in this movie, I felt.
Yep.
Danny Pala, I think his name is.
Okay.
But at any rate, yeah, Tila comes and saves him and says basically the sword sent a signal, and I put in my note, where's Julie? And I know that Dolph Lundgren made a cameo and I complained about it, but I feel like if you could have also, I did like Saoirse as his boss, but I put that if Courtney Cox had been his boss, that would have been awesome.
That would have been funny.
It would have been really funny. And then she, like, on her desk has a picture of her and Kevin framed.
Yeah.
Something like that. Then he goes, I told you guys it was real. Well, not you guys, but you kind of represent the people who doubted me. This is a place where some of the humor works and some of it doesn't. That is meant to be funny, and it was very awkward.
It didn't land well,
It didn't land.
But so we had Beastman attacks, Tila saves him. And then you see kind of him and Tila are reunited.
Yeah.
They haven't seen each other 15 years, right? And she is kind of a badass. And she saves him, and it brings him back in her ship.
Yeah. And then we have Skeletor back again, and he's threatening to grind Beastman into sausage, which I did find a little funny.
And him and Evil Lynn are in this scene.
Right. But then he, again, like, it's just bad acting. Torturing him, and Beastman goes, this really hurts. Stop it. Like,
this is the cartoon humor, though, that I love.
Cartoon, Steve, it's live action. And
but
you
it's
have
supposed to be playing off the cartoon.
No, you have to translate the cartoon into live action. That's my point. And this is why sometimes live action stuff does not work. Mm-hmm. BattleBot is cleaning the floor. That part I did find funny. Then we have this running joke that I also did find amusing, and I will give it to the movie for this. The names of all. So he goes, Tila brings He-Man back, and her father has been drinking, and he's not in the room at the point. But he goes, I know you. You're Fisty.
All the good guys who are left are like a resistance, and they're living underground. Of course, he remembers them all not by name, but like a child would, right? The guy with the big metal fist. You're Fisto, which is hilarious because the names he's calling them were their names as toys.
I know.
You know, you're Ram Man. What did you call me? Like what? Well, you ram things. Right? But why you call me Fisto? Why? Well, you fist things. Which again is an innuendo joke. Yeah, which is kind of funny.
I think that that part in particular is an adult joke that kids would not get. I don't...
No, but you're adults who were kids then watching it now get it. And
I know.
Fun, right?
But what is funny is that that's what he called them. And he's like, yeah, I made tons of notebooks about you guys. But again, then have a flashback where you're showing him like in a children's home, looking out the window, thinking about the people he used to know and drawing them.
Well, but they did have at the beginning when he was going through his mundane life, he had a box under his bed of drawings from him as a child of them.
No, I mean just to fill in the 15-year gap.
Got it.
But
so, as you said, Man at Arms is a drunk. He's kind of a weight because his failure in that battle we saw in the beginning, where he lost to Lockjaw and almost died, he feels like he failed his daughter.
Yeah.
And he's basically washed up.
I hate this so much. I hate it. And again, I think, in my opinion, the message of He-Man before, they're trying to get away from toxic masculinity. But He-Man was never toxic masculinity.
No.
And if you watch the cartoon, Adam is always a gentleman and kind and does talk through things and is also strong and powerful. I feel like, they're saying some things here about what it means to be a man that I just don't think I don't think it's the best messaging. And here we have, Man of Arms, why not have him be the fierce leader of the resistance and also Teela at his side? You can have both. You don't have to bring him down to make her stronger. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. But having said that, Idris Elba's acting is impeccable. Chef's kiss. Love it. He also, then He-Man tries to kiss Teela.
Yeah.
And she
friend zones him.
Shuts that right down. We have Skeletor talking via hologram, which I liked because that was in the 87 movie, but not done well.
I wrote that down as well.
Here,
I liked that piece.
That part, the CG did look good to me.
We have an aerial chase scene, which I know you love chase scenes.
I don't. And it was boring, and I put, no one cares, move it along.
Again, they had the bad guy ships chasing them had like those saw blade spinning things. That was a toy.
Yeah.
So again, I'm like, oh, that was a toy. Is me looking back on it, was nostalgia, right? I'm like, I had that toy. This was cool, right?
Yeah. So essentially, they have a fight. Skeletor gets the sword, and he holds it up in the air and says, I have the power. But no, nothing happens. Which this part, Steve, I did like because I felt like in the other movie, that happened very quickly. He got the sword. He did get the power. He started glowing, and then he gets like the headdress and whatever. You can listen to our episode about that. But he gets the power very quickly. Yeah. Here, he tries to. Now here, though, my low light of this part is that Alice and Brie as Evelyn, they have kind of like a comedic sort of line, and he is very much like the cartoon, right? So he says, oh, no, wait, something's wrong. And he's bumbling.
Right.
And it's meant to be cartoonish and funny. This is really even hard for me to say. Then it's clear in this version that they're like together. She makes comments about you still have me and that kind of thing. He grabs her by the throat in a very domestic violence way. And that happens directly after the bumbling cartoon line, and it doesn't work. It's really uneven, and it goes from, again, as a woman watching this, it goes from you're just being cartoonish and bumbling to now you are strangling your partner. And I don't like it. It's uneven, but it's also disturbing. But what I put here is you can be Dr. Evil, like from Austin Powers, or you can be Hannibal Lecter. You cannot be both. Have him be an evil guy and then have the other pieces of comedy.
Yeah.
Like you don't, I just think you're trying to undercut him in ways you don't need to. And why not show that she's doing these things because she's compelled to?
Yeah.
Right? But it makes it look, it's just very odd choices there.
Adam turns into He-Man, which is great. And then we get to see him fight pretty much all the bad guys from the toys. Shows up at Snake Mountain, which looks just like the toy. Again, also just like Castle Grayskull.
Did they have that as a version?
They did. I never had it. It was a little bit more or less common.
Okay.
But I wish I had. And so he shows up. He gets to fight all the bad guys who are from the toys, which is great. And then Skeletor has his dad captive still from 15 years ago. And his dad dies. Yeah. And as he's basically getting his dad's last words, which are basically, I was too hard on you. Like, I didn't want you to think you weren't good enough. I wanted you just to be prepared because life is tough, right?
Right.
As that's happening, Skeletor comes up behind him and knocks him out and steals the sword. And that's where we run into.
And then, so he steals the sword, and then he goes, and the scene is pretty similar to the 87 version. After the scene with Skeletor, then we move over back to the Resistance. And then this is where the humor did work, because what does Adam try to do, Steve?
He tries to do like a motivational speech.
But he does it like an HR seminar?
Yeah, he goes, can I talk to you guys? And they go, war plan. And he goes, well, like a seminar.
Yeah.
And they're like, a war seminar?
He's like, it's time to take back our home. We've got to get together. Then he says, like you, I forget your name, but he goes, how much do you bench? And the guy's like, what?
Yeah, he's like, bench? He's like...
Yeah. So then we have the battle. We have Teela fighting.
Teela gets to fight Evil Lyn.
Yeah, but then her father says to her, you're the man I wish I was. And I put, this is clearly part of the point of this movie. And it's so dumb. Like, just have him be Man of Arms and be awesome like he was in the cartoon.
Man of Arms gets his revenge. He gets to fight Lockjaw again. And wins this time. So he kind of gets like his revenge, which is nice.
Yeah, he comes back into himself and has a lot more confidence now, right?
Yeah.
Then we have this thing with Skeletor and He-Man, but he's kind of going in and out of his Earth memories, and I don't really know why they have those flashbacks in there.
Skeletor is attacking him with his magic, and basically it's like he's invaded his mind.
Oh.
So he's taking him through like all these embarrassing parts of his life. They show that he was nothing because he's trying to overcome.
Yeah, but then he also says so the sword breaks.
Yes.
But then Skeletor says, you're used to having that big, long sword dangling between your thick, young thighs. And I put, what? It's awkward. Yeah. And it's so weird. And it's like sexual harassment, but it's not funny. And the thick thighs was like not, even if he said you're used to having a big, long sword dangling off, you know what I mean? Like you didn't, I don't know. It was very strange. So then the sorceress
kind of comes to Adam in his mind.
Yeah.
And basically tells him, like, the sword was a conduit, but the power was in you. Like, I chose you because of who you are, not because you grabbed the sword.
Yeah, but then she keeps going about how it's not just that he's strong. She just says, you have a different kind of strength, empathy, and humanity. And again, like, you can have both.
Right.
You can have both.
Well, I think that wraps up soon here, because then what happens is, so he wakes up, the sword reassembles itself.
Yes.
Right? He turns into He-Man.
He pulls it out
because he was stabbed with it.
Yeah.
He pulls it out of himself and it reassembles and he turns into He-Man. He does I have the power, right?
Yeah.
Turns into He-Man and tries to talk Skeletor down. Even though now he's overpowering Skeletor. He's He-Man.
Yeah.
And he says, listen, we can talk about this, right? And Skeletor kind of refuses and basically is just like, listen, I'm evil. Like, there's no, I was treated poorly and I got upset. No, there's no reason behind it. There's nothing that makes me empathetic. I'm just a bad guy. I like that. Because I think sometimes, too often now, we have bad guys or evil monsters that we're supposed to feel empathetic about.
I would have liked one line here. Okay, this is my beef with this entire franchise. Okay, hear me out. If all he had done was been like, I'm evil, that's how I am. But also, Castle Grayskull is clearly mine. It's a skull. I'm Skeletor.
Right.
I don't understand.
So,
your parents have a different castle. Let me have my castle. Because
but he has Snake Mountain.
Listen, well, I don't even know about Snake Mountain. I didn't know anything about that till just now. But my point is, we're looking at it right now in our pop culture office in the podcast studio. It is very clearly his.
So what I
don't understand. understand that at all.
What I like about this scene, and you've been talking about messaging and masculinity and things like that, right? But what I like about the culmination here is that he tries to talk it out peacefully and empathetically a little bit, but in a way that's diplomatic. Skeletor refuses, attacks him again. Now he's He-Man. He-Man starts to beat the bejesus out of Skeletor.
Yeah.
Okay, just absolutely takes him behind the woodshed. And what happened? And so then as Skeletor's getting beaten on, all of a sudden Skeletor's like, whoa, let's talk. You wanted to talk. Let's talk, right?
That was a
And
little
He-Man
funny.
says the time for talk is over.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like, okay, listen, now I've come to a culmination of talking is good, but it's also not bad. At some point, maybe sometimes you have to fight for what you want.
I will say this, and to me, this is kind of my overarching issue when we go to our ratings. This is a clear issue of 4 writers in the room, and a movie that was in development since 2007.
Yeah.
Because I think, with parts like that are very good, but it's sloppy.
Yeah.
And if they did do a sequel, my hope would be that they would kind of pick right up, have maybe those 2 brothers work on it, figure out the tone, and you could build on this. The bones, I think, are there. It's just that, in my opinion, this is a situation, Steve, where I would love to see like the Snyder cut of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
can we have the
director's cut where some of the awkward leave some of the jokes that work, but cut the awkwardness. And it is only in, I would say, 6 to 8 little, and I'm talking about 5 to 30 seconds. Yeah. So you're really talking about editing out at most 10 minutes out of this movie would have made it a lot stronger.
So then, the good guys win.
Yeah.
And then we jump ahead 6 months. And Eternia, the city's kind of been rebuilt. His mom, who they saved, is the queen again. He's the prince now. The good guys are all kind of around. And you basically have this scene where, all right, things are going to be good now, right?
Yeah.
And then someone says, oh, did you, there's a village in trouble.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I better head out, right? Which, again, this is a cartoon thing, right? Adam would go, oh my gosh, and he'd run off and turn into He-Man, right? So he runs off, turning into He-Man, and this, I think, was a part where the humor did work.
It did.
The whole group is standing there, and one of the guys says to Man-at-Arms, does he think that he needs to run off to change?
He goes, does he think we don't remember?
He doesn't. Does he think we don't remember he's He-Man?
Yeah.
And Man-at-Arms goes, just let him do what he needs. And then the other guy, Ram Man, goes, I mean, we could just turn around if he...
Yeah.
And I thought this was hilarious because the whole cartoon, what I used to think as well is, it's not even like they gave him glasses like Clark Kent. Adam looks just like He-Man.
Yeah. Also, right before that, we had a talk about Tila asks him what his name for her was, and he goes, Warrior Goddess?
Yeah.
And then they're like, what was your name for yourself? And he goes, He-Man? Like a He-Man, like a masculine, like he's just a strong man.
And Man-at-Arms goes, isn't that redundant? Like He-Man?
Yeah. Which nowadays, maybe not. I don't want to get canceled for that joke. But they do also make a comment about all the heroes from your childhood. And we have a special appearance. His roommate is now there.
Yeah, his roommate is. They brought him back, and we have an a mid-credit after-credit scene with Orko, which was interesting to see. I was never a fan of Orko, but it was cool to see him hit. I preferred the better after-credit scene of She-Ra,
which they did. But I want to just say, Orko looked great.
Oh yeah, because now we have the technology. They couldn't have done that in 87.
No, I think they rendered him really well. I don't know why they didn't do Skeletor better. And then we have a teaser for She-Ra, which sets us up for a possible sequel.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I think it is, and I will tell you why.
Really? Why don't you tell us what the budget was and what it made its first weekend, Steve?
Yeah, this leads right into it. I'm going to be honest with you. So the budget for this movie was, you mentioned a little earlier, about 170 to 200 million. First weekend opening, it made 112 million. So
that was global.
Global, yep. So it is a little bit below.
That's what it's made so far.
Well, that was opening. It's still in theaters, so it's still making.
No, but
of this recording.
I think it's made 112 so far. I don't believe that was opening week, but you could be right.
Okay.
Let's just do a comparison. Another Mattel property, Barbie. 365 million its opening weekend.
Well, yeah, but Barbie is one of the biggest movies that's come out since COVID. I mean, Barbie, I don't know if you can compare them. What I will say this, so it has not made its budget, which is not a great sign. But interestingly enough, I will say this, even though it hasn't made budget and it's gonna lose money just from what we're looking at right now, right? By all the reviews that have come in so well, the people who are watching it like it. It's got an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's with 5,000 reviews.
No, it does not have an 86.
The audience reviews with over 5,000 verified ratings have a favorable rating of 86%.
The critics is a 68, but
right.
That's still fresh.
That's surprising. And I'm going to tell you this, I liked it.
I know you did.
And even after the fact that it's not going to hit budget, Amazon has said since then, so they know the numbers, and they've said that they're still playing the sequel. But keep in mind this.
Is that going to be direct to streaming? I mean, not that it matters nowadays, but...
Well, this is the thing. Keep in mind, this is probably one of the best pieces of luck that this movie could have come across, is having Amazon produce it. Because the two advantages you have of being a movie or a series done by Amazon or Apple... They don't really care if it makes money because Amazon and Apple have more money than anybody.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
The movie entertainment piece is secondary. Apple and Amazon make all their money from shipping and from iPhones.
Yeah.
So they can lose a little bit of money if they like what they're making.
I just think, in terms of our overall review, my overall is this. To me, that 10 minutes of weird, awkward jokes that did not work really ruined a lot of the movie for me. I think that the first 15 minutes of Eternia is really the best part. I wish that we had just seen that straight all the way through. And if there were small things that could have fleshed out the background on Earth. A lot of people thought we didn't need this section on Earth. I don't disagree. You could have sent him to a different planet, or you could have just had aged him up a little bit and had the training be when he's 18, and that it's not going well. And then his dad dies or something. I don't know. But I think overall... the story arc worked. I think the messaging is messy because there are too many cooks in the kitchen. And I think some of the humor hit, but a lot of it didn't. And so it flips back and forth between this like G-rated cartoonish thing and what could have been a really serious, PG-13, maybe even R-rated fantasy epic. And it's upsetting to me because I think it did have potential. The pacing was good. The battle scenes were good. I thought for the most part the casting is good. I think the guy playing He-Man's a little bland, but the other actors were fantastic and brought him up a bit. Idris Elba, great. The Morena who plays the sorceress, great. Camilla who plays Tila, I thought she really hit everything. Alison Brie is a great actress. I don't think they gave her enough to do. And I think that the little bits where he was choking her, he throws her to the ground, and you see her face, you get the emotion there because she's good. Mm-hmm. But that's her acting. That's not script. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I wish that they had fleshed that out. But again, you do have chances in the sequel to flesh that out.
So what's your letter grade for it?
I think I'm at like around a C. There were things that did go well. There was humor that did work. Oh, the score, by the way, the composer was Danny Pemberton. He also did Enola Holmes, the After Party Project, Hail Mary. Mm-hmm. And he did the Spider-Verse as well. He's done over 150 things as a composer. It's amazing. But I wanted a little more dual identity stuff. I wanted a little more in Eternia. And I wanted just some things fleshed out. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes, but I think they could have done more with the time that they had.
Okay.
But yeah, like a C+. I'll give it a C+.
Okay.
Yeah. Not not as bad as the 87 version.
Okay.
And I think if you are a fan, good fun, and go watch it. And even if you were around in the 80s, I think you could enjoy it. And I do think that because of the humor, I do think that there's nothing bloody in the action.
No.
I do think kids could see it. So yeah, C+ for me.
Okay.
You're gonna give it an A+.
I love this film.
I know.
Absolutely. The thing I find most upsetting is that you obviously watched a different movie.
I didn't watch a different movie.
This
I sat
movie
in the
was
same room as
fantastic.
you and watched it.
It grabbed me by the feels. And was it fan service? Yes. Was it nostalgic bait? Yes, in the best way. Okay, I stand by this. If this movie had been in 1987, He-Man toys would have gone on for another 10 years.
I think that's true. I do think that's true.
I think that was probably in mind with maybe connecting the toys so much here. The problem is we live in a different era. We live in an era now where little kids don't play with as many toys because parents would rather hand them a digital pad and say, watch a cartoon.
I will also say this, and this could have affected my feeling about it. We watched this in a pretty much empty room, like on a Tuesday. I think if you did see this in a theater with kids and a bunch of people where kids are laughing at the jokes, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm giving this an A.
Okay.
I'm not giving an A+ because, as you mentioned too, I will agree there's a few spots where maybe the humor didn't hit as well as it should have.
Yeah.
But this is my go-to movie. When this comes out on Amazon, I'm buying it. Right? This is when I'm depressed or sick or upset. This is my movie. This is my John Mulaney.
I was just gonna say,
Masters
don't out
of
me.
Universe.
When I'm sick and upset, I watch Baby J by John Mulaney. I don't know why.
This is that for me.
Okay.
So if you're out there listening to this right now and you've not seen Masters of the Universe and it's still in theaters, go support it. Go spend the money and boost those box office grades. You will not regret it, especially if you are a child of the 80s and 90s. Okay? If it's not, rent it or buy it on Amazon. Because this is one of the few movies that's worth spending money to.
Okay. Good endorsement. So overall, B. A B grade for...
And it hurts my heart to say that.
So don't... an average grade of a B, which is about what people said too. If it's an 86, that's a B plus for the audience. A B grade. And let's talk about what's coming up next on the podcast. I did not know that there was a Roadhouse that came out in the 2020s.
Yes. Jake Gyllenhaal stars in the Roadhouse remake.
And when we saw that there was a remake of Roadhouse, I said to Steve, I've never seen Roadhouse.
Which I find to be a travesty.
I know one really fun fact about Roadhouse that I will save for next week.
If you have not seen every movie Patrick Swayze has made, this is a travesty.
A travesty. And thankfully they haven't tried to remake Ghost, because I do think that would be a complete travesty. So we're going to watch the 1980s version of Roadhouse. I've also never seen Point Break. This is an FYI. Another Patrick Swayze.
Oh my goodness.
At some point too, I want us to watch Dirty Dancing and Dirty Dancing Havana Nights, just because I think the name of that's
Point Break
funny.
not only has Patrick Swayze, but Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, and Keanu Reeves is a nice man, but I don't think his acting is great. At any rate, the next 2 weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the 1980s version of Roadhouse, then we're going to watch the remake. After that, it's back to school time, and we're going to watch Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell.
We're going to look at the original with Good Morning Miss Bliss, and then we'll also watch the very famous, I'm so excited, Jessie Gets Hooked on Pills. And then we'll watch the reboot, which brings back a lot of the original cast, which I think will be interesting because I haven't seen that. So that's what's coming up for September.
Megan, before we say goodbye, what extras do we have for our listeners this week?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we have, over on TeePublic, we've got Battle Cat inspired t-shirt, He-Man inspired t-shirt.
Sign me up.
Yeah, you can also get that as like a hoodie or a mug. Sometimes we try to slip a few jokes in there, and they're hard to describe on the air, so you'd have to go over and see them. Our Substack, we've got some recipe tie-ins this week for you. I mentioned this last week as well, ambrosia and the veggie burger, and we're looking at, I forget this week if it's Harry Potter or The Office, on the Pop Culture Pantry.
Okay.
My other podcast, the PCPers. We're not going to call it that.
Wow, let's not call it that.
I call it Pop Culture Pantry, and then I started using that acronym, and then I was like, oh. I don't know that we want to do that, but yeah, that's what's over there. So a little bit of bonus, and that's also a way that you can help support the show.
Hey, it's free to subscribe, and links for TeePublic and the Substack podcast and blog are in the show notes.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, especially over on Apple. For a small show like ours, it really does help us get seen.
Tell us if you agree that Megan completely missed the boat on Masters of the Universe.
Don't.
Because I think that's a need.
No, people got so mad at me for Scooby-Doo, and I watched more because of it, and I was like, okay, my rating was a little harsh, but that's why we do grades, you know?
All right, so thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.